Well, hello there. So today we're going to play with Lambda, which is really cool. And we're also going to grab a single sign-on URL. So a single sign-on URL is a one-time use URL. So you won't be able to use this is all one line. So I'm just going to copy it. And if I paste it in here, it's going to automatically sign me in to AWS. So I grabbed that single sign-on URL from my Learner Lab. You can go to the AWS details and download the single sign-on URL. So you can see I'm here. By the way, talks about the cost and whatnot here. So let's go ahead and let's go to Lambda. So Lambda is functions as a service. So we're going to create our own Lambda. And creating it in the Learner Lab, there's only one thing that's kind of weird. So first, they already have some that help monitor this. And I believe this is how they don't let you run EC2 instances. But we're going to create a function. Call this whatever you want. I'm going to call this Let's Play Today. It does have to be unique. So, and I'm going to do Python because that's what we teach in 101 and where I teach in CS 101. Architecture, so we're going to leave that. Now what we do need to do that you don't normally have to do, so you can create a new role with basic Lambda permissions. That would work, but it's best to create a role that's specific. We're going to use an existing role because in the Learner Lab, we don't have access to that. So we're going to use lab role, which has a lot of access, which means it'll be able to do the cool stuff we're going to do and create function. So we've created this function. Now we can look at the code here by looking at layers, and it's going to load. And there's some default code, hello from Lambda. So we're going to leave that there for now. And we're going to add a trigger, something to trigger this code. So there's a lot of different things we can use as a trigger, but I'm going to select an API gateway. So you can do application load balancer, IoT, CloudFront. There's a lot of things you can use to do it, but I'm going to use an API gateway. So, and we're going to create a new API and security open. And I think that's all we need to do. Add. So we've created an API gateway, and we have some code. It has the default code there. By the way, here's the endpoint. So I'm just going to right click. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste this in here, okay? And you see hello from Lambda. Cool. So I already have a web API. Now, it's not really doing anything. So let's go in here to the code and let's change it. There's a lot of things you can do here. By the way, you can create test cases and all sorts of stuff. This is a really cool, powerful tool. But we're going to add some code here. And some of this is not needed, but I'll talk through this code. I'm importing time. I'm actually using that to sleep for a little bit because I was going to grab the IP, but I'm not going to sleep long enough for this. JSON could handle the output. TODO 3 is so that I can actually do EC2 stuff. Region, I'm going to set my default region. I'm going to set EC2 equal to a bodo3.resource of EC2 and the client to the bodo3.client EC2. And that's where I can grab information, and I've spit that out before. We're actually not going to use this part of the code in this example, so that's okay. And then here's the Lambda handler. So instance, I'm creating an EC2 instance. I'm grabbing an ImageId. So this ImageId, let me take you where that's at. Right here, open a new tab. If I say new EC2 instance, so if I launch an instance, one thing that asks me is what size and stuff I want to do. So it always takes a little longer when you're recording. Anyway, if I scroll down here, InstanceType. Oh, sorry, right here, architecture. So here is my AMI, okay? So I need that AMI for what I'm going to do. Now I can change. I'm trying to think if I change this. So that AMI is just this architecture in Linux. So by default here, coming back to my code, I'm setting the AMI. I'm setting a min count to 1 and a max count to 1. So I'm only doing 1. I'm doing an instant type of T2 micro. So you saw me look at the instant type down here. So I can change the different instant types. So what I'm doing with this AMI is I'm saying I want Linux x86 64. Okay, Amazon Linux x86 64-bit. Okay. And then the micro and stuff depends on how many CPUs, how much memory, and the micro's fine. And then I'm going to give it my key of main. So let's look at really quick at the key. So I'm going to go back. So if we look here at key pairs, you upload your public key here and you can have it. Now you can create a key pair, but then Amazon has your private key and you have to download it from them. I don't like ever giving anyone my private key. So I create a key on my local system using the command ssh-keygen to create a key. I have a video about that. SSH keygen, and then I upload the public version of that, and here's main. I have one I use for classes, and by default they create this one. So I'm going to use main for this. So that's where that comes from, because you need the key pair. And that's the minimum you need to create an instance. You could give it a name. You can do a lot more things. You can actually give it code to run on startup to be able to configure a web server, for example. And then I'm just going to print. So I did some stuff here. This was playing around. And I did remove my sleep because I was trying to get it to sleep long enough so I could grab the IP address. But we don't have to worry about that. So all this stuff is just junk. So you can ignore that. I could have just commented that out. Except for my instance. I'm actually going to this my instance. I'm taking a string. Oh, so I guess this one too. Taking a string and I'm substringing it. So I'm getting the information out about what we're going to start. So, and then I'm returning hello from Lambda. I've created the following EC2 instance for you. Enjoy. And then adding this substring that I just created. So we'll show you in a sec what that is. So we're going to deploy it. And that is like the save. So if I come back up here, by the way, I'm going to get this ready because we want to see this. EC2 dashboard. We can see that there are no running instances. But if I look, I do have 2 instances that are terminating. That's fine. And that was from a test I did earlier. So I'm just going to leave that here because if we hit this again, we can see that the text changes. And it says, look right here. Oh, and yep. So I-009FB. So this is the instance ID. So if I come back here and I refresh this, I should see that I right there. FEC ends in FEC, ends in FEC. So this is the substring that I created. So I would know which one. And you can see it's pending. By the way, I can just keep hitting this. 1. And there's another one. 2. And there's another one. 3. And there's another one. Okay. So if we look here, so what we've done is we've successfully created a Lambda that uses a web page to launch a brand new EC2 instance. So now I have all these EC2 instances. It's not good to leave these around. And I don't want to leave this here. Well, I'm going to leave it. I will leave it here. I'll eventually get rid of this. But if you want to hit this, you'll see that eventually I'll get rid of it. You'll start up all these instances. I'm going to comment that section out when I'm done. But I want to show you something. So we see that they're all running. So I'm going to quickly terminate these because I don't need them. And don't worry, this isn't live, so no one else is going to hit that unless they happily find it. But AWS by default limits you to the number of systems that you can run. So after a certain point in time, you're not going to be able to start any new ones. Okay, so what I wanted to do is I'm going to go to my learner lab. And I'm just going to end this lab. I'm not going to show you ending. But once I click End Lab, you're going to see that I can't, this is not going to work anymore. So let's click on Instance Types, and it's already, so my lab is ending. It should be, it's letting me stay for a bit. Let's see if we can launch an instance. It shouldn't let me. So close this, launch instance, because my lab is ended. It won't let you launch an instance. And I want to show you that because I want to show you what happens when I try to hit it when my lab is ended. Okay, so KeyName Main. I think that's all we need. Launch instance. Oh, so VPC. Yeah, so it's not even letting me select these. Oh, let's just try that one. Can't remember what subnet I usually put in. Launch. I wonder if my lab is not completely ended. If so, view all instances. Oh, it's going to automatically terminate it. So pendings, this is the one we just created. So I wanted to show you because AWS with the Learner Lab in AWS Academy, it doesn't let you run EC2 when the lab is shut down. But I may have just found a bug, which is cool. Maybe it will. In the past, it's kicked me out when I've ended the lab. Maybe I did not end the lab. Are you sure you went to end the lab? Yes. So it thinks it's ended. Refresh. Instances. Huh. Cool. Anyway, it should auto-terminate this. But now that the lab is ended, I think anyway, I'm going to look at the details. Yeah, it says it's red. This should not work. But I don't think my lab really ended. I think I've got it in that weird state yet. Because that did not work before, unless they've changed something. And if so, then cool. So there's another one pending. So I will definitely kill this Lambda because I don't want all these going. So I'm just going to come here and uncomment that code. Well, comment out that code and deploy. Now it's going to try and get this instance, so it's going to fail. So if we come here, we're going to get an error, internal server error. But I'm going to quickly terminate these two. And what you've seen is, once again, we can create a Lambda, we can run things, we can do all sorts of cool things with code without even having a server. In fact, we can launch servers from the code. So that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoy.